Hey there, welcome to Coffee and Conversation for ESL Listening. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Christina, so grab a cup and join the conversation.
Hey there. So, this is going to be a good one because I think you can see already we are in a crazy mood. It's late in the evening, we're tired, and who knows what we're going to get today, but we'll do our best.
I think it will be fun, when you're in this little crazy fun mood. Um, but you know what? I noticed that we have been getting pretty creative with our times when we record this. We
Yeah.
started with very consistent day of the week, same time, and then we kind of started doing mornings and then weekends, and now it's evenings. But you know what? With crazy lives we have, it is what it is. This is what makes it fun.
It is. And, we're both busy, so we have to do things when we can grab a few minutes together that we have free. So here we
Right.
are. Next, we'll be doing it at like midnight. That
Oh
would be,
man.
wait, wait a minute. So I was just thinking as I said that, I mean, it's not midnight, but it just reminded me. We used to go to this conference together for the college that we worked at. We went to an ESL conference, and it was for a couple of nights. And during the day, we would, go to do all our sessions and do the thing, and then we'd go to dinner. And afterward, we'd stay up late and play games. And you were hilarious because you would get tired because you're not the night person that I am.
No.
And guys, when Christina is tired, she is so off the wall crazy, laughing, making jokes. It's something to see.
I do get what they call slap happy when I'm tired.
Yes, that is a really good phrase. Slap happy when you're tired and you just act silly, and yeah, that's you. So we'll have to do that once, like a midnight recording, and really see Christina in action.
Oh gosh, do you really want to put people through that? I don't know. But but you know what? Now you're reminding me about that conference. That was so much fun.
Yeah, I
We've
miss those.
always,
Those were great.
yeah, it was good
Yeah.
days, good times, good times.
Good times, that's right. But anyway, we're having more good times now. And speaking of good times, our topic today is New
Bum.
Year's. Yes, New Year's Eve, and that's the time of lots of good times, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, people kind of celebrate different ways,
Oh, I
right?
think New Year's is where usually people have lots of parties. And speaking about midnight, you gotta stay up till midnight.
Yes, yes, that's right. That's one. How are you able to make it? Are you okay to stay up till midnight or?
Well, as I'm getting older, it becomes more and more difficult. But
Hmm.
no, I mean, New Year's is when I definitely stay up till midnight. So you gotta
Yeah.
have to, no matter what, you have to celebrate New Year's. So yeah,
Yes.
I can do it. I can do it.
Okay. Once a year, it's not that bad. Right.
Given
Okay.
enough
So
champagne or wine, I can do it.
with wine or what?
Or champagne, I
Oh,
can do it.
champagne. Yes. Yes, for
Sure.
sure. That's one of those things that's very common. And not, of course, a lot of people don't drink. So if you don't drink, that's fine too. But if you do, champagne is kind of one of those musts for New Year's Eve. And
Right.
actually, there's a slang word for that. Sometimes people call that bubbly. You're going to
Oh, that's
pop
true.
some bubbly, right?
Yes, yeah.
All right. So, well, since we're talking about this, right? So, New Year's Eve, what do we do? We normally, what do we normally do for New Year's Eve? It's kind of like one of those holidays that there aren't any real rigid traditions, I would say, things that you necessarily have to do. Sometimes it's just a big celebration of, out with the old and with the new year, looking forward, that kind of thing. But
Right.
definitely a big thing is the countdown, right?
That's true. And the most famous one would be the ball drop in New York,
Yes.
right? People count
Right.
down from
And just so that
12,
we know what
right?
we're talking about here, the countdown, it's a phrasal verb, lots of
Yep.
phrasal verbs,
Yeah.
is right when it gets to be about 10 seconds till midnight.
Mhm.
Everybody starts 10, 9, 8, 7, and all that until you get to midnight. And by the time you're down to midnight, the ball is slowly dropping. And then when you get down to the end of the countdown, the ball should be down to the ground, I think. I don't know. I've never been to New York, but I think
I've
that's how
been
it
to
works.
yeah, I've never. I mean, I've been to New York, but not during New Year's, and I think it would be a really cool experience to actually do that. But yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. The ball just slowly drops, and goes all the way down, and
Yeah.
so then everybody goes crazy,
Yeah.
and they sing, and they hug, and they, if they have drinks, they will toast to each other or they kiss. Isn't there like a New Year's kiss? Isn't
Yeah. So, like, if you're a couple, husband and wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, it's tradition to have a kiss at midnight. And that's supposed to signify, or like, it's a superstition, I guess we could say, that's supposed to be that, love will be strong in the new year, or, something like that. So, yeah. And then there's the song that Old Lang Syne, or Old Lang, I don't even know how you say it. It's in old Scottish English, and so nobody really knows how to pronounce any of these words, but it's a song that you hear every New Year's Eve. And it's about, I guess, old friendships and things like that, maintaining.
Mhm. I think the biggest thing, like the biggest theme usually about New Year's is the change, right? It's like you said, from old to new, and I feel like every tradition or like superstitions. I feel like there are some superstitions that are
Oh, yeah.
also tied to New Year that, oh, if you see this, or if if you do that, then good luck or bad luck in New Year. A lot of it also tied to prosperity. Like, is your new year going to be good with money, or will you do well, will you be rich or not, or poor? So it seems like there's a lot of that going around too for New Year's.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of these things are around food, some food traditions. Now, we don't have that many in the US that I know of about this, but one that is familiar to me is in the region of the country where I live in the South. It's very common to eat something called Hoppin' John. And that's a funny sounding dish, but all it is black eyed peas and rice. And yeah, sometimes, yeah, they also eat something called collard greens.
Hmm.
I couldn't even tell you what that is, like mustard green. It's something like that. I don't know exactly.
Right.
Um, but yeah, they say that you have to have that on I think New Year's Day. You're supposed to have that on New Year's Day.
Here's right.
Again, a superstition for good luck and prosperity for the year.
Well, my husband's family has a celebration, superstition, or for good luck, is that on New Year's Day you're supposed to eat pork and cabbage,
Okay.
and it's for prosperity and good luck. And my husband always says we have to have pork and cabbage, or my mom will be very upset. So we don't want to upset his mom. We
No.
always have some type of pork and cabbage on New Year's Day. Gotta keep
So,
mom
like,
happy.
I'm sorry.
You gotta keep mom happy.
Yes, you got to keep mom happy. Yeah. So, does that mean that any kind of pork will do? Like, you can have a piece of bacon?
Yes. Yes. I mean, sometimes like pork egg roll, right? Because it has cabbage
Okay.
in it and pork, we could do that.
Oh, yeah.
Or sauerkraut. You could have
Right.
some sort of pork with sauerkraut, or so I make different types of, sometimes I just do braised cabbage with some braised pork, or it could be bacon pieces. Um like that. Yeah. So any type of pork and cabbage could be in any form, or the way you cook, or whatever you want to do with it. But as long as there's pork and cabbage on
Oh,
that
that's
day.
so funny. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, now,
Very
what about
interesting.
you growing up? Did you have any traditions that were specific or just
For New Year's, I mean, when we were little, we usually would just celebrate with my parents. And my mom would cook something festive, just, some salads or some other stuff. But then as my brother and I were getting older, like high school and college, it usually would be just with friends and we would have parties, always have to have champagne for
right?
New Year's or like a sparkling wine. Um, but yeah, most of the time, just parties. I mean, there wasn't really um, s- anything special. But for New Year's Day, there is this superstition in
Okay.
my country that when you wake up on New Year's Day and whoever you see when you look out the window, it has to be a man or a boy. That's for good luck. Or whoever comes to your house first on New Year's Day has to be male, has to be a man. So I remember with our neighbors, yes, I think it's extremely sexist, but
Oh yeah, I wasn't gonna say it, but okay.
yeah. So they say if a man comes to your house, then it's for good luck, good health, prosperity. So I remember we lived in an apartment building and it was a lot of apartments and we, between neighbors and us, so my dad or my brother would go visit our neighbors or one of our neighbors would go to everybody's in the morning, just knock on the door, open the door, let him in for good luck. So
Oh, that's funny.
I think it's crazy,
So
but it's kind of fun. Yeah.
it is funny. So basically, if you show up at someone's door, they're gonna be like, "What? No,
Yeah,
get
they might
out!"
not even let me in. They wouldn't even
Yeah,
open the door if they see that it's me.
that's hilarious. What about
But
a male cat? Will that work if you see a male cat?
yeah, I mean, unless you know it's a male cat, then we would have to really look into it. But the funny thing is, I was kind of looking and thinking about how other countries, like if there's any traditions for New Year's, and there's a similar tradition to that in Scotland. And this is a really old tradition because I was reading a book not too long ago that was set in like 17, 1800s. And they were actually describing, it was just mentioned in the tradition because it was happening during New Year's. And it's called, I think it's pronounced Hogname. So it's this big celebration for New Year's where people get together and they have like a big party or dance. And then they have this what's called first footing. So you're supposed to have a man come into your house with a good luck gift. So that's supposed to be for good luck.
Okay,
And
and
then they
again, a man.
have, yes, and then they have bonfires, like a New Year's bonfires where everybody just celebrates around it and all that. So I thought it was
Okay,
kind of actually a cool celebration. I mean, we don't do bonfires in Ukraine for New Year's, but we have a similar thing with the first person coming in for good luck after
that's
midnight.
really interesting. I've never heard of anything like that before, and considering it's showing up in at least two traditions, um,
Right.
it makes you think, what is the history behind that? There must be something. Very
Well, I think
interesting.
it's just probably a bunch of guys got together and, that didn't like women. Probably not. I don't know the history. I'm just
No,
speculating.
there's something else there because it's very
Has to be.
specific,
Yes.
and it's
Right.
interesting.
So some other things I also read that are really interesting in celebration of New Year around the world. Um, and I think you might have heard of this. So in Spain, as the clock strikes 12, you're supposed to eat a grape for each strike, like for each second there.
Okay.
Um, and I think it's similar to in some other countries like Philippines. But in Philippines, they also eat any like round food for New Year's because it symbolizes luck. And sometimes people say they wear some sort of like a polka dot clothing too because the round shape
Wow.
symbolizes luck and prosperity.
Huh.
Um so another thing with the food in Greece apparently they hang onion outside of their door.
Also something round.
Something round with the food, right?
Interesting. Huh.
So sometimes I read even that in Greece, parents would wake up their kids in the morning by like bonking onion on their head.
That's funny.
It is. It's cute. So
Yeah.
yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. Now in Denmark, they throw stuff around. Apparently, they throw old plates and glasses kind of against the wall to break. So, but, I mean, like, it makes sense if it's like old plates, right?
Yeah,
Out with
that's what I
the
was gonna
old,
say.
in with the new.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
but
a good excuse to go buy some new dishes.
yeah, but I mean, I don't want to clean on New Year's.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
bunch of broken stuff.
Yeah. You know what? As you're talking about all this stuff, I'm having a lot of vague memories of, because like uh I think Chinese tradition, they have New Year at a different time.
Mhm.
Same thing for Iran. But I have these vague memories of some of the traditions being sort of similar with like the food and the shapes
Mhm.
and I don't know. I need to look into this because it's interesting now.
Yeah, it is interesting. Well, and so another thing with the food that tied with the food in Colombia, I read even they have two different traditions. One is that family members will put three potatoes under their beds. One is regular potato, one is half peeled, and one is completely peeled. So then
Huh.
at midnight, without looking, they will go under the bed, and whichever potato they pick will signify how their year is going to be. So if it's a whole potato unpeeled, then it means it will be a rich year, right? If it's half, then you kind of be, not so well, but okay. And if it's a completely peeled potato, then you're going to be broke all year.
Oh, wow. That's a
Interesting
depressing
tradition.
way to go into the year.
Right. But then at the same time, the Colombians have this tradition where at midnight, they take an empty suitcase and go around a block. So that's supposed to bring luck for travels for the year.
I'm all about
I
that
thought it was
one.
really neat. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I thought the interesting one was in Brazil. Um, One of the things that they do on New Year's, they go to the beach, right? Kind of water. They say that you're supposed to wear white, like clean, clean something clean for New Year's. But they also have like they say that they wear lucky underwear, like a
Oh.
special underwear, different underwear for New Year's.
Is there
I
like
think
some color to it or just
there's
something special?
yeah, there are some colors. I think there's some certain colors that you're supposed to wear. But I remember when we were kids, like how the Chinese New Year symbols, like usually it's the animals,
Yeah.
and each animal has some sort of color to go with it. So I remember we always had like, oh, for this year you need to wear this color for good luck. So I always
Oh.
thought that was interesting too.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, there's a
you
lot of
mentioned right. You mentioned that some countries celebrate New Year at different times of the year. And I think
Mhm.
in Chinese culture, that's New Year is a big celebration. They have a lot of
Yeah.
traditions, a lot of parties, and um. But when you mentioned that in some other countries, so years ago, I spent 3 months in Uzbekistan, and we happened to be there for their New Year celebration, which I want to say was in March.
I probably, yeah, because it's probably the same as like Iran is in March also, I
Right.
believe.
And it's called their New Year is called Novruz.
Yes, that's the same one. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
But they had a really interesting tradition there too. Of course, it's party and it's very rich with food and different dishes, and it's very family oriented. But they have this one thing that they cook for hours, and not just like couple hours, but like 12 to 24 hours.
Oh,
It
no, thank you.
They take wheat sprouts and they just with some water and they cook them in these huge pots, and it's like a
Hmm.
neighborhood affair. So people cook them for, let's say, over 24 hours, and they take turns stirring because you have to
Oh
constantly kind of stir it.
my.
Um, so
Wow.
of course there's celebration, there's music, because you have to stay awake for this long and, take turns and all that. But they usually make these big, big pots of it. And when they cook it for that long, those wheat sprouts become this sweet, thick, brown substance. It's almost like fudge, like a thinner
Oh,
fudge type thing. And
wow.
it's delicious. It's absolutely delicious.
Wow.
But just knowing how much fun people are having when they're doing that and how much of a, it's just this community thing that it just makes it so much more tasty.
Yeah,
But it was really interesting.
there's something about doing something like that as a group, as an event together that is nice. It's fun. And like you say, I mean, if it's going to take 24 hours or whatever it is to cook this thing, I mean, you want to be having your friends around and doing stuff and having a little party. So, let me understand this. Is it like a giant pot that they would have cooking outside somewhere so that
Yes.
like all the neighbors would sort of be there and take turns? Got it. Yeah.
Yes. It's on open fire. And they have this giant, I can't even explain like how big usually that pot is, but it's huge. And they have these like
Wow.
big, almost like pedals where they stir it. And it is a really neat tradition. It was, I'm lucky that I was there during that time to experience it.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, for us, it always comes back to the food, doesn't it?
Well, what can I say?
Yeah, yeah.
Would you like some good food?
Well, um, before we let this go on too far, we need to talk about the very important thing for New Year's, and that is the New Year's resolutions. And that is a huge thing, at least in the United States. I kind of think that's sort of a worldwide thing.
Yeah, I think it's a universal thing.
Yeah, because it's the idea of, okay, we have an old year, maybe things didn't quite work out the way we wanted in this old year. This new year is a time for a fresh start, and we can make stuff happen. Big goals, right?
Sure.
Yeah. The joke is that, well, one of the most common New Year's resolutions is most people want to either lose weight or get into shape or something like that. I mean, that's so common. And I think a lot of our resolutions revolve around health in some way. If it's drinking more water, eating more vegetables, meatless Monday, there's a lot of that kind of a lot of that kind of thing regarding like, okay, I'm going to take control of my health. Maybe your mental health. Yeah, emotional health. It's always about that. And of course, so many of us, after especially say a month or so of eating all kinds of holiday food, and we say, okay, January 1st, we gotta we gotta start over.
You kind of need it.
Exactly, right? And so the joke is that, so many new memberships in health clubs and gyms begin at the beginning of the year, and it's like everybody's joining, right? And then by February, kind of they stop going, you just can't maintain that.
I think by February, those memberships become just like monthly donations to the gym. 'Cause
Donation,
nobody's
baby.
going and doing anything. You just keep paying.
That's right. Well, on that same note, I find it kind of funny too because, like I said, not just um your health, your physical health, but just sometimes it's like, okay, I want to create a new habit. I want to get rid of these bad
Right.
habits, or I want to start a new good habit. And in the business that I'm in, um, I very often have a bunch of new students coming to me in January. I do notice that. And all of a sudden it'll be like, oh, several requests for new students because this is the year I am going to really work on my English. And
Right.
yeah, so
Makes sense. I mean, yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of I think we try to start something new, something different, something maybe we've been wanting to do all year,
Yes.
but it's kind of like that cut off. January 1st, I'm going to do
Got
it.
to do it now. This
Yes.
is
Yep.
time to get going.
Right.
Yeah, and
Right.
it's a great time. I made a list of some common resolutions, and some of them are really good ideas, and I like it. Kind of like the learning English,
Mhm.
if you're here listening to us now, you've already started that goal. So that's great.
Right.
But sometimes people want to learn something new, like a new art form, maybe sculpture or drawing, painting, or maybe you want to learn how to knit or crochet or sew, something like that. Yeah, so it's a great time to think about, what is something that I'd like to learn how to do that I don't know how to do. Do you have anything like that
I
you think
do.
I'd like to learn how to do something or
Yes, and I think that might be one of my New Year resolutions for this coming year. I want to try something new like horseback riding.
oh,
I
fun.
always wanted to do that. I always wanted to learn how to ride a horse. And my other one, it's one of the things on my bucket list, but maybe this will be the year I'll do it.
This is it.
I would like to ride in a hot air balloon.
Oh, fun.
Yes, always wanted to do it. So maybe this year. We'll
Yeah.
see. What about you? Do you
Scary
have
but
any
fun.
resolution? Do you have any resolutions?
Well, it's funny that you say that because last week somebody came to the house. It's our this is TMI. This is too much information nobody needs. But anyway, the guy that comes and sprays for the bugs because we live in the South, and so you have to have the exterminators come every so
Oh
often
yeah,
and
yeah.
make sure you get that out of the way. And he's a chatter, and he was chatting about New Year's, and he said that he doesn't like to have New Year's resolutions. And I was just in one of those kind of moods, and I said, "Yeah, me either. I usually don't because I don't want to set myself up for failure because it's true. Like we said, by February. Uh, but
Well,
no,
don't sign up for a gym.
oh,
Just
that's not
stay away
happening.
from the gym.
Stay away from the gym. Absolutely no problem there. But no, it's true. Like, well, okay, so after having gone to India, and trying to talk to my husband's family, and they don't speak English, and I don't speak Hindi, I feel like I really need to learn a little bit of Hindi. So
Right.
work on that.
And maybe while you're doing that, you can inspire my husband to start learning Ukrainian, except for words I'm full and thank you and I can't eat anymore, because those are the only things he knows in Ukrainian.
He's doing
So
better
that,
than me, let me tell you.
but that's, you know what? But that's a great resolution or just a plan to have for
Yeah.
this year, something you would want to start to do. And gosh, you have a perfect
Yeah.
teacher, I would say, there living with you.
No, I do not. Sorry, but no. I'm gonna have to do this one on my own.
I was also reading about some like resolutions that people have, like most common ones. And I came across this one and I thought, well, it's kind of funny, but I actually need to do that one. And so somebody said that one of the popular resolutions is to clean their computer keyboard.
Oh, I saw that too, and I thought, "Ooh, yeah, I don't know what's in there." Actually, I do know cat fur, lots of cat fur.
I probably have like breadcrumbs and stuff and pieces of chocolate and candy.
Yeah, there might be some chocolate in there.
But
I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, it's a good resolution because it's like, you know what, you never think of this, that you
Yeah,
need to get this done, but I definitely need to do that. But
yeah,
another thing that I really want to start doing, and I don't know if it's something that after being cooped up in the house from during COVID, But I want to, like this year, I really want to make time to for trips, like even short trips,
Yes.
here and there, just traveling and experiences. I think more of an experiences because I feel like there's just so much stuff in our life. There's so many things. And I
Yes.
feel like lately I've been thinking, I don't think I need any more stuff. I would like to see things, to experience things.
I think you
Just
need to see Alabama.
well, that might be one of my plans.
Make that first on your list, okay?
I will definitely try. Definitely.
Well,
But
but it's funny that you were talking about the keyboards and things like that because I saw something here and this reminds me of something else too, but I will start with this as a resolution is to try to do and they're saying for housework, but I think you can apply this to anything and it's
mhm,
actually something I suggest to my own students. So, as far as housework goes, if you're like me and you hate cleaning, if you can just make a resolution to get up for 5 minutes and do something, go clean something for 5 minutes every single day. And if you had a list, and I keep thinking I'm going to do something like this, if you
mhm.
have a list of a lot of little, what we call those tiny task kind of things,
Oh,
like
that's a good
cleaning
word.
your keyboard, and you
Yeah.
could just glance at it and say, okay, I'll take this tiny task today. And that could be something that might actually be helpful. I don't know. I think
That
so.
that could be helpful. I just might need a whole nother resolution of making the list first
Yeah, that's
before
true. Well, yeah. So that reminds me of one of the things I tell my students all the time, too, is, you need to just make a habit, to make studying and learning English a habit. And by that, I don't mean, okay, you got to open up your book and get out all the stuff and spend an hour, 2 hours every day. Even if you spend 5 minutes a day, if you get into the habit of doing it, it's going to build up. And I'm
right.
going to go ahead and plug a book here um, because I think this is a really useful book. It has great ideas that you can apply to anything, definitely learning English. And it's this book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And I can't say that I have adopted all of the fabulous ideas in there, permanently, but it's something I'm going to come back to. He has some really great ideas. And he says in there that in order to, well, one quote he has is, let me get this. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And habits are just systems. And in order to make it a system and a habit, you've got to do it every day. And it doesn't
Mhm.
mean do it an hour every day. If you just say, I'm going to study English every day, and you open your book and you stare at it for a minute and you absolutely can't do anymore, you close it and try again tomorrow. But you are
Right.
building those connections that make you have this habit stick. And so it's a great book. And if you are not a native speaker of English, I have recommended this to some of my students, and it's a very easy read. That's a win-win
Oh,
there. So
well,
yeah,
and
I'll link that
it's
in the show notes.
that's a good idea. The habit itself, when you think of it, it's the consistency, right? It's something
Yeah.
that you do consistently.
And
So
then you
that
don't
makes
feel
sense
right. Yeah, you don't feel right if you don't do it.
if
It's
you
kind of
don't do
like
it.
brushing your teeth. I can't tell you how many times that I have been exhausted at night and all I want to do is fall into bed, but I will not do it until I brush my teeth. I may not do a great job of it. I may not floss that night, but I will brush those teeth.
Right. Right. Or it's kind of like having a cup of coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to, otherwise, it just doesn't feel right for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So,
So yeah, there's lots of things that we could start our new year off with some good habits. So we'll just leave you with those thoughts. And if you're learning English, yeah, just a little bit every day. And don't forget the show notes. I always say this at the end. I should say this at the beginning, but check the show notes because we've had a lot of phrases, expressions. We're linking to some stuff. We'll link to the articles we found about resolutions. Blogs are a great thing to read when you're learning English and all that good stuff. So
Right.
until next time, here's to good coffee, good vibes.
Cheers.